Amber Hayes ran a $200 million cosmetics empire, but she could not buy a single honest man. 9 blind dates. 9 men who calculated her net worth before asking her name. So she did something insane. She became poor. Minimum wage job, fake name, cheap clothes. The 10th date arrived late, wiping grease off his hands. "Sorry," he said. "Had to drop my daughter at tutoring. I'm a single dad." Amber froze. Out of 9 wealthy men, why was he, the poorest one, the only man who said yes? 3 years ago, Amber Hayes buried her father and inherited an empire she never asked for. Hayes' beauty had made the family name synonymous with luxury cosmetics across North America. $200 million in assets, 1,500 employees, a glass tower in downtown with her name engraved in the lobby. She was 32 and completely alone. Her father used to tell her that success meant nothing without someone to share it with. He died believing she would find that person. Instead, Amber found parasites, men who smiled too wide, men who researched her net worth before the appetizers arrived, men who asked about board positions before asking about her day. 9 dates, 9 failures. That night, she stood in her penthouse overlooking the city and made a decision that would have horrified her board of directors. She would disappear, not physically, but financially, socially. She would become invisible in the only way that mattered to men like the ones she had been meeting. She would become poor. 2 days later, Amber signed a lease on a studio apartment in a working-class neighborhood 40 minutes from her office. She bought clothes from discount stores, plain jeans, shirts without designer labels. She opened a dating app and created a profile under the name Amy. Occupation, office worker. Salary, $8 million per month. Her assistant Carla noticed the changes immediately. She was 29 and had worked for Amber for 5 years. Loyal, efficient, and possessive, in a way that made Amber uncomfortable sometimes. Carla watched her boss with the intensity of someone who had built their entire identity around proximity to power. "You are not actually going through with this," Carla said when Amber explained the plan. "I am," Amber replied. Carla did not argue after that, but her disapproval hung in the air like smoke. The 10th date was on a Tuesday evening at a cafe that served coffee in mismatched mugs. Amber arrived early and chose a table near the window. She wore jeans and a sweater she bought for $20. No makeup except mascara. No jewelry except a watch that actually needed winding. Ethan Cole arrived 10 minutes late. He rushed through the door looking flustered and apologetic. His hands were stained with something dark that might have been grease or oil. He saw Amber and his expression shifted from panic to relief. "I'm so sorry," Ethan said, sliding into the chair across from her. "I had to take my daughter to her tutoring session. The traffic was worse than I thought." Amber watched him try to wipe his hands on a napkin. "You have a daughter?" "Yeah. Lily. She is 7. Ethan gave up on his hands and looked at Amber with tired brown eyes. "I should have mentioned that in my profile. I am a single dad. If that is a problem, I completely understand." For the first time in 9 dates, Amber felt something shift in her chest. "It is not a problem," she said. Ethan smiled. It was not the practiced smile of a man trying to impress someone. It was real and slightly embarrassed, and completely unprepared for what it did to her. "How was your day?" he asked. Amber blinked. "What?" "Your day. Was it okay? You look tired?" Nobody had asked her that in months, maybe years. The men she met asked about her company's quarterly earnings, about her investment strategy. They did not ask if she was tired. "It was long," Amber said carefully. "But okay. Have you eaten?" "Not yet. I came straight from work." Ethan glanced at the menu, and Amber saw him calculate prices in his head. "I work at a warehouse during the day, and I drive deliveries at night." "2 jobs?" "Yeah." "It is what it is." Ethan looked at her again, and there was no shame in his expression. Just honesty. "I know I don't have much to offer. I live in a rental with my daughter. I drive a car that is older than some of my coworkers. If you are looking for someone who can take you to fancy restaurants or buy you nice things, I am probably not that guy." Amber felt something crack inside her chest. What if I'm not looking for that? Ethan studied her face. Then maybe we should order some coffee and see what happens. They talked for 2 hours. Ethan told her about Lily and how she loved science, how she drew pictures of planets, and asked questions about black holes that he could not answer, how she wanted to visit the Natural History Museum to see the dinosaur exhibits, but the family tickets cost $500, and he was saving up. Amber told him about her own childhood, about her father taking her to museums every weekend, about how she used to think she would do the same thing with her own kids someday. She did not tell him about the company, about the penthouse, about the fact that she could buy the entire museum if she wanted to. When they left the cafe, Ethan walked her to her car. It was not her real car. It was a 10-year-old sedan she bought specifically for this experiment. "Can I see you again?" Ethan asked. "Yes," Amber said. "I would like that." He smiled, and something in his expression made her want to tell him everything. But she did not. She got in the car and drove back to her studio apartment and sat on the edge of the cheap bed and wondered what she had started. The second date was at a park on Saturday afternoon. Ethan brought sandwiches he made himself. They sat on a bench and watched people jog past while he talked about Lily again, about how his ex-wife had left when their daughter was 2 years old, how Rachel had decided poverty was not romantic after all, and moved away with someone who could afford the life she wanted. "She does not talk to Lily," Ethan said quietly, "not even on birthdays." "I'm sorry," Amber said. "Do not be. We are better off." Ethan looked at the sandwich in his hands. "My cousin Sarah helps me out a lot. She watches Lily when I am working. She convinced me to try dating again. Said Lily needs a mother figure." "Is that why you are here?" Amber asked. "For Lily?" Ethan turned to look at her. "I am here because when we talked last week, you laughed at something I said, and it was the first time in years I felt like maybe I was not just a paycheck and a parent. Maybe I was still a person." Amber understood exactly what he meant. The third meeting happened the following weekend. Ethan asked if she wanted to meet Lily. They went to the same park, and his daughter was waiting on a bench with a backpack covered in dinosaur stickers. Lily was small for 7, with dark hair in 2 braids and her father's brown eyes. She looked at Amber with the cautious curiosity of a child who had learned not to trust easily. "Lily, this is Amy," Ethan said gently. "She's my friend." "Hi," Lily said. Amber knelt down to the girl's level. "Hi, Lily. Your dad told me you like science." The child's eyes brightened just a little. "I do." "Me too." "Did you know that some dinosaurs had feathers?" "Really?" "Really. They were probably a lot fluffier than the movies show." Lily giggled. It was a small sound, but it made Ethan's entire face soften. They spent the afternoon at the park, with Amber telling Lily about different dinosaurs and planets, and the kinds of things a 7-year-old finds fascinating. By the end, Lily was holding Amber's hand and asking her questions faster than she could answer them. When it was time to leave, Lily pulled a folded piece of paper from her backpack. It was a drawing of 3 stick figures holding hands, 1 tall, 1 medium, 1 small. "This is for you," Lily said, handing it to Amber. Amber took the drawing and felt her throat tighten. "Thank you. I love it." Lily looked up at her father, and then back at Amber. "Can you be my mom?" Ethan went pale. "Lily, that is not—" "It is okay," Amber said quickly. She knelt down again and smiled at the girl even though her vision was blurring. "That is a very big question, sweetie. But can you?" Amber looked at Ethan. His expression was somewhere between mortified and hopeful. She looked back at Lily and made a decision. "How about you keep my phone number?" Amber said. "If you ever need anything, you can call me, okay?" "Okay," Lily said. Amber wrote her number on the back of the drawing and handed it back. Lily folded it carefully and put it in her pocket. When they said goodbye, Ethan walked Amber to her car. "I'm so sorry about that." "Do not apologize," Amber said. "She is wonderful." "So are you." Ethan looked at her like he was trying to memorize her face. "I know I don't have much to offer you, Amy. But if you are willing to keep seeing me, I promise I will do everything I can to make you happy." Amber wanted to tell him he already did. Instead, she said, "Same time next week?" "Yeah, next week." That weekend, Amber bought 3 tickets to the Natural History Museum. She packaged them in an envelope and mailed them to Ethan, with a note saying his company was running a raffle, and he won. It was a lie wrapped in good intentions, and it made her stomach hurt. But when Saturday came and the 3 of them stood in front of the dinosaur exhibit, watching Lily's face light up like a star, Amber forgot about the guilt. Lily ran from display to display, asking questions and reading plaques out loud. Ethan followed behind, looking happier than Amber had ever seen him. At one point, he took Amber's hand. "Thank you," he said quietly. "I have never seen her like this." "You are welcome," Amber said. They spent 5 hours at the museum. When they finally left, Lily was exhausted and talking non-stop about everything she learned. Ethan carried her on his shoulders, and Amber walked beside them, feeling something she had not felt in years. She felt like she belonged. That night, back in her studio apartment, Amber stood in front of the mirror and looked at herself. She was still wearing the discount store clothes, still pretending to be someone she was not, still lying to a man who deserved the truth. But if she told him, would he look at her the same way? Would he still hold her hand in the museum? Would Lily still ask her to be her mom? Amber thought about the 9 men before Ethan, the ones who saw her bank account before they saw her face. She thought about how Ethan asked if she was tired, how he made sandwiches and shared them on a park bench. She decided to keep lying, just a little longer, just until she was sure he loved her and not the idea of her, just until she knew for certain that what they had was real. Her phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. It was a photo of Lily asleep with the museum map still clutched in her hand. "Best day ever," the text said. "Thank you." Amber stared at the photo until her eyes burned. Then she typed back, "Same." She was falling in love with a man who thought she was poor, and she had no idea how to tell him the truth without losing him. 1 month passed, like water through fingers. Amber saw Ethan every weekend, sometimes just the 2 of them for coffee, or walks through neighborhoods where nobody recognized her face. More often with Lily, who had attached herself to Amber with the fierce loyalty of a child starving for maternal attention. They cooked dinner in Ethan's small rental kitchen, Lily standing on a stool to help stir pasta sauce. They watched animated movies on a couch that sagged in the middle, Lily falling asleep between them by the 3rd act. Amber learned that Lily hated broccoli, but would eat it if you called it tiny trees. That Ethan sang off-key in the shower. That both of them laughed at her terrible cooking and ate it anyway. She also learned how much it cost Ethan to let her into this life. He worked the warehouse shift from 6 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon. Then he picked up Lily from Sarah's house and spent 2 hours helping with homework and making dinner. At 7, he left for delivery routes that lasted until midnight. He slept 5 hours and started again. Amber watched him grow thinner, watched exhaustion settle into his shoulders. She wanted to help, wanted to write a check that would solve everything. But she could not do that without explaining where an office worker making $8 million per month got that kind of money. So she did small things instead. Bought groceries and pretended they were on sale, slipped money into Lily's backpack for school supplies, fixed Ethan's car when it broke down, and claimed her brother was a mechanic who owed her a favor. Every lie made the next one easier and harder at the same time. The 4th week ended with Ethan asking her to meet him at the park without Lily, just the 2 of them. Amber arrived to find him sitting on the same bench where they had eaten sandwiches a month ago. He looked nervous. "Is everything okay?" Amber asked, sitting beside him. Ethan was quiet for a long moment. He watched a jogger pass, watched a mother push a stroller, watched everything except Amber. "I need to tell you something," he finally said. Amber's stomach dropped. "Okay. I like you, Amy. A lot." Ethan turned to face her, and his expression was raw. "Lily likes you too. She talks about you constantly. But I have been thinking about what I can actually offer you, and the answer is not much." "Ethan, let me finish," he said gently. "I work 2 jobs and still barely make rent. I drive a car that might not pass inspection next month. I have a kid who deserves better than hand-me-down clothes and free lunch at school. And I am asking you to be part of this, to choose this life, to choose me." He looked down at his hands. They were rough from warehouse work and scarred from a dozen small injuries. "I know you deserve someone who can take you to nice restaurants, someone who does not have to check his bank account before buying coffee, someone who can give you the life you should have." Ethan's voice cracked slightly. "But I cannot stop wanting you to stay anyway." Amber felt something break open in her chest. She reached for his hand and held it between both of hers. "What if I don't want nice restaurants?" she said quietly. "What if I want this? You and Lily and terrible animated movies on a saggy couch?" Ethan looked at her like he was trying to find the lie. "You mean that?" "I mean that." He pulled her close and kissed her forehead. It was gentle and desperate, and full of a hope that made Amber want to confess everything. But she did not. She just held him and thought about how much easier it would be if she really was Amy. The next Friday afternoon, everything changed. Amber was having coffee with Ethan when her phone rang. She glanced at the screen and saw Carla's name. She let it go to voicemail. 30 seconds later, it rang again. Then again. "You should get that," Ethan said. Amber excused herself and walked outside. She answered on the 4th call. "What?" she said, trying to keep her voice down. "Where are you?" Carla's voice was tight with panic. "The Singapore distributor is threatening to cancel the contract. They want to talk to you directly. The board is convening an emergency meeting in 20 minutes. Amber closed her eyes. "I cannot. This is a $40 million deal," Carla said. "You have to be here. $40 million, 2,000 jobs, 3 years of negotiations." Amber looked through the cafe window at Ethan sitting at their table, waiting for her to come back. "I will be there in 15 minutes, she said. She went back inside and grabbed her bag. "I am so sorry. There is an emergency at work. I have to go." Ethan stood up. "What happened? Are you okay?" "It is fine. Just a crisis. I will explain later." Amber was already moving toward the door. "I have to go." She left before he could argue. The drive to Hayes Tower took 12 minutes. Amber parked in the underground garage and took the executive elevator to the 32nd floor. Carla was waiting outside the conference room with a tablet and 3 folders. "They are inside," Carla said. "I sent you the briefing." Amber took the tablet and walked into the room. 12 board members, 4 lawyers. One very angry distributor on the video screen. She spent the next 90 minutes salvaging a deal that nearly collapsed because someone in logistics forgot to file the correct customs paperwork. By the time it was over, Amber's head was pounding. She walked out of the conference room and nearly collided with Carla in the hallway. "We saved it," Carla said. "Barely," Amber said. She was walking toward the elevator when she saw him. Ethan was standing in the lobby on the ground floor, 32 stories below. But she could see him through the glass walls that made Hayes Tower famous for its architecture. He was talking to the security guard at the desk, looking confused, looking for her. Amber's blood went cold. She took the elevator down and stepped out into the marble lobby just as Ethan turned around. His expression shifted from relief to confusion when he saw her walking across the polished floor in the same clothes she wore at the cafe, but somehow different. More sure. More commanding. "Amy," Ethan said, "what are you doing here?" Amber's mind raced. I work here. Here? In this building? Yes. Ethan looked around at the soaring ceilings, and the waterfall feature, and the receptionist desk, made of Italian marble. I thought you said you worked on the 8th floor. I do. There was a meeting upstairs. The lie tasted like metal. What are you doing here? I was worried about you, Ethan said. You left so fast. I just wanted to make sure you were okay. I followed your car and saw you come in here. Amber felt the moment start to slip away from her. She could tell him now. Right here, in the lobby of the building she owned. She could explain everything and hope he understood. But Carla was watching from the elevator bay, and the security guard was listening, and Ethan was looking at her with concern that would turn to betrayal the second he knew the truth. I'm fine, Amber said. Just a work emergency. My boss needed me for something. Ethan stepped closer. He reached for her hand. You look exhausted. Let me take you home. I have my car. Then let me follow you. Make sure you get there safely. Amber wanted to scream. Instead, she smiled and said, That would be nice. They drove separately back to her studio apartment. Ethan walked her to the door and kissed her gently. Get some rest, he said. I will. I love you, Amy. The words hit her like a fist. He said them so simply, so certainly, like they were the easiest truth in the world. Amber looked at this man who worked 2 jobs and raised a daughter alone, and somehow still had enough love left over for her. This man who had no idea who she really was. I love you too, she whispered. After he left, Amber sat on the edge of her cheap bed and put her face in her hands. She loved him, and he loved her, and she was lying to him about everything that mattered. The lie held for 2 more weeks. They fell into a rhythm. Ethan started to believe that maybe he could make this work, that maybe poverty did not disqualify him from happiness. Amber watched him grow more confident, watched him hold her hand in public, watched him introduce her to Lily's teacher as his girlfriend. She started to believe she could keep both lives separate. Amy in the evenings and weekends, Amber during work hours, 2 women living in the same body. Then Carla saw them together. It happened on a Tuesday afternoon. Amber was supposed to be at a board lunch, but she canceled last minute to meet Ethan at the park. They were sitting on a bench eating sandwiches when Carla drove past and saw her boss in discount jeans sharing food with a man in warehouse coveralls. That night, Carla came to Amber's penthouse, the real one, not the studio apartment. Who is he? Carla asked. That is none of your business, Amber said. You are the CEO of a $200 million company, and you are dating a warehouse worker. He's a good man, Amber said coldly. Does he know who you are? Amber did not answer. Oh my God, Carla said. He does not know. You are still pretending to be poor. I am trying to find someone who loves me for who I am. And you think lying to him is the way to do that? Carla's voice rose. I have worked for you for 5 years. I have watched you build this company. And now you are throwing yourself away on someone who does not even know who you are. He does not know about the money, Amber said through gritted teeth. Then this is going to end badly, Carla shot back. She was right, but not in the way either of them expected. 3 days later, Ethan came to Hayes Tower at lunchtime. He had a thermos of soup that he made that morning, and he wanted to surprise Amy. Wanted to do something nice for the woman who had been doing nice things for him and Lily for 2 months. He walked into the lobby and asked the security guard where he could find Amy on the 8th floor. The guard looked confused. There is no one named Amy on 8, the guard said. She works here, Ethan insisted. What is her last name? Ethan realized he did not know. 2 months, and he never asked her last name. He pulled out his phone and showed the guard a photo of Amber. That is CEO Hayes, the guard said. Ethan stared at him. What? Amber Hayes. She owns the company. The thermos slipped from Ethan's hands. Soup splashed across the marble floor. Carla walked into the lobby at that exact moment. She saw Ethan standing there, looking shattered, and she made a decision that would break everything. "You must be Ethan," she said, walking over. "I am Carla, Miss Hayes' assistant." "Miss Hayes?" Ethan said numbly. "Yes. CEO Amber Hayes, owner of Hayes Beauty, worth approximately $200 million. Carla's voice was pleasant and poisonous. "I'm not sure what game she's been playing with you, but I thought you should know who you have really been dating." Ethan looked at the security guard, at Carla, at the building around him with its expensive art and its marble. He looked at all of it and understood that Amy never existed, that everything had been a lie. "Where is she?" he asked. 32nd floor, Carla said. Ethan took the elevator up. Each floor that passed felt like another layer of betrayal. By the time the doors opened on 32, he was vibrating with anger and hurt. Amber was walking out of a conference room when she saw him. Their eyes met across the hallway, and she knew immediately that he knew. "Ethan," she said, moving toward him. "Is it true?" His voice was flat. "Are you Amber Hayes, the CEO?" There was no point lying anymore. "Yes." "So Amy does not exist. I'm still the same person." "The same person?" Ethan's voice cracked. "You have been lying to me for 2 months, about your name, about your job, about your entire life." "Everything else was real," Amber said desperately. "My feelings for you, for Lily, that was all real. How can I believe anything you say?" Ethan looked around at the office with its floor-to-ceiling windows and its designer furniture. "You own this building. You own this company. And you pretended to be poor so you could what? See how the other half lives?" "No," Amber said. "I wanted to find someone who loved me." "Not my money." "By lying?" Ethan's hands were shaking. "I told you on our first date that I hate being lied to. I told you about Rachel and how she lied. I told you that honesty was the only thing I cared about. And you looked me in the eye and lied anyway." "I was going to tell you," Amber said. "When? When exactly were you planning to mention that you are one of the richest women in the city?" Amber had no answer. "I saved money to buy you a birthday present," Ethan said quietly. "I worked extra shifts so I could afford to take you to a real restaurant next month. And the whole time, you could have bought everything I own with your pocket change." "I never wanted your money," Amber said, tears streaming down her face. "No, you wanted to play pretend." Ethan backed toward the elevator. "Stay away from me. Stay away from Lily. We don't need your charity." "Ethan, please." The elevator doors closed. Amber stood in the hallway of her office and felt her entire world collapse. She ran for the stairs, ran down 32 flights because she could not wait for the elevator. By the time she reached the lobby, Ethan was already outside. She pushed through the glass doors and into the parking lot. It was raining. Ethan was walking toward his car with his shoulders hunched against the water. "Ethan!" Amber called. He did not turn around. She stood in the rain and watched him drive away, watched the taillights disappear around the corner, watched the only real thing in her life turn into one more thing she bought and broke. Carla appeared beside her with an umbrella. "I'm sorry," Carla said. Amber did not respond. She just stood there in the rain, soaking wet, feeling every lie she told settle into her bones like stones. Amber stopped going to work. For 3 days, she locked herself in the studio apartment she had rented to play poor and now could not bring herself to leave. The space felt like evidence of her crime. Cheap furniture, discount store clothes hanging in the closet, a life she borrowed and ruined. On the 4th day, she forced herself to return to Hayes Tower. She walked into her office and sat behind her desk and tried to care about quarterly projections and product launches. But every time she looked out the window, she saw Ethan standing in the lobby with soup spilling across marble floors. Ethan was drowning in his own way. The warehouse job required his body but not his mind, which meant he had 8 hours every day to replay the moment he learned Amy never existed. He worked in mechanical silence, loading boxes and operating forklifts, while his thoughts circled the same questions. Had anything been real? When she laughed at his jokes, was that genuine or performance? When she held Lily and listened to her talk about dinosaurs, was that love or charity? Lily asked about Amy constantly. Where was she? Why did she stop visiting? When would she come back? Ethan told his daughter that Amy was busy with work. He said these things while knowing they were lies, which made him exactly like Amber. The hypocrisy burned. Marcus cornered him on the 5th day. They were taking their lunch break in the warehouse loading bay, sitting on wooden pallets with sandwiches from the vending machine. "You look like death," Marcus said. "I'm fine." "You are not fine. You have been walking around like a ghost for a week." "What happened?" Ethan told him everything. About Amy, who was really Amber. About the lies and the money and the way she looked at him in that hallway like he was breaking her heart by refusing to forgive her. Marcus listened without interrupting. When Ethan finished, his friend was quiet for a long moment. "So let me get this straight," Marcus finally said. "She lied about being poor, because rich guys only wanted her money. Then she met you, and you actually liked her for who she was. And when you found out she was rich, you left because she lied." "Yes." "Did she lie about liking you?" "What?" "Did she fake her feelings?" Marcus asked. "Was she pretending to care about you and Lily?" Ethan thought about Amber playing with his daughter at the park, thought about the way she looked at him when he said he loved her. "No," Ethan admitted. "I do not think so." "Then what exactly are you mad about?" Marcus asked. "You never asked her what she did for work. You never asked about her family or her apartment or her life before you. You just accepted her at face value because you wanted someone who liked you for you. Maybe she wanted the same thing. Maybe she was just as scared as you were." "I told her I hate being lied to," Ethan said. "Yeah, because of Rachel. But Rachel lied about wanting your life. This woman lied about having money so she could be part of your life. Those are not the same thing." Ethan wanted to argue, but the words would not come. He thought about all the times Amber helped without being asked. The museum tickets, the groceries, the way she showed up for him and Lily over and over, without expecting anything back. "She could have bought anything," Ethan said quietly. "But she bought time with us." "Sounds like she knew what was valuable," Marcus said. That conversation stayed with Ethan for the next 2 days. It circled his mind during his warehouse shift and his delivery routes and the quiet hours after Lily went to sleep. He thought about calling Amber, thought about apologizing. Then Thursday happened, and everything changed. The call came at 1 in the afternoon. Ethan was in the warehouse 40 minutes outside the city, unloading a shipment, when his phone rang. Lily's school. He answered immediately. "Mr. Cole, this is Principal Morrison. Lily is sick. She has a high fever, and she is asking for you." Ethan looked around the warehouse, looked at his supervisor across the loading bay. "How high?" 39.5. "We tried giving her medicine, but it is not working. Can you come get her?" "I'm 40 minutes away. I will leave right now." Ethan ran to his supervisor and explained. The man was sympathetic but firm. If Ethan left before his shift ended, he would lose the day's pay. Ethan did not care. He grabbed his keys and ran. At the school, Principal Morrison met him in the office. "We called you repeatedly. When we could not reach you, Lily gave us another number. She said it was someone named Amy." Ethan felt the floor tilt. "Did you call it?" "Yes. The woman is already at the hospital with Lily. She took her about 20 minutes ago." Ethan drove to Mercy Hospital faster than he should have. He found Lily's room on the pediatric floor and stopped outside the door when he saw them through the window. Amber was sitting in a chair beside the bed, holding Lily's hand. She was wearing a business suit, but she looked destroyed. Her hair was falling out of its pins. Her makeup was smudged. She was talking softly to Lily, who was lying under white sheets with an IV in her small arm. Ethan pushed the door open. Amber looked up, and her expression went from relief to fear in half a second. Ethan. I know you said to stay away, but the school called and I could not. How is she? Ethan interrupted. Viral infection. The doctor says she will be okay, but they want to keep her overnight for observation. Amber stood up. I paid for the room and the doctor. I know you do not want my help, but I could not. Thank you, Ethan said. Amber stopped talking. Ethan walked to the bed and looked at his daughter. Lily was asleep, her small face flushed with fever. He touched her forehead and felt the heat radiating off her skin. The nurse said you have been here for 3 hours, he said. I came as soon as the school called. You left work? I left a board meeting, Amber said. I did not even think about it. I just ran. Ethan looked at her. Really looked. She had dark circles under her eyes. Her hands were shaking slightly. She looked like someone who had been sitting in a hospital room, terrified that a child she loved might be seriously hurt. You should go home, Ethan said gently. Get some rest. I can stay if you need me. I know you can, but you look exhausted. Amber nodded. She leaned down and kissed Lily's forehead. Feel better, sweetheart, she whispered. Then she walked toward the door. Amber, Ethan said. She stopped and turned. Thank you for being here, he said. Really? Something in her expression cracked. I would always be here for both of you, no matter what you think of me. She left before he could respond. Ethan spent the night in an uncomfortable chair watching his daughter sleep. Around 2 a.m, he dozed off for a few minutes and woke to find Amber standing in the doorway. She was holding 2 cups of coffee. I could not sleep, she said quietly. I kept thinking about her. Come in, Ethan said. Amber sat in the other chair and handed him a coffee. They sat together in silence, watching Lily breathe, watching the monitors beep steadily. I'm sorry, Amber finally said, for lying to you, for not telling you the truth from the beginning. You deserved honesty, and I gave you everything except that. Ethan wrapped his hands around the coffee cup. I'm sorry, too. For how I reacted, for not letting you explain. You had every right to be angry. Maybe. But a friend of mine pointed out that I never asked about your life either. I wanted you to be Amy so badly that I never questioned it. I wanted to be Amy, Amber said. That was the whole point. With you, I got to be just a person, not a CEO or an heiress or a target. Just someone who made terrible pasta and watched cartoons with your daughter. Our daughter, Ethan said. Amber looked at him. The way she looks at you, Ethan continued. The way she talks about you. You are already her mother in every way that matters. I do not deserve that. Yes, you do. You proved it by being here. Ethan set his coffee down. I told you I hated being lied to because Rachel lied about wanting our life together. But you lied so you could be part of our life. Those are completely different things. Your friend Marcus sounds smart, Amber said with a small smile. He has his moments. Ethan reached across the space between chairs and took her hand. I love you, not Amy. Not some version of you that I invented. The real you. The woman who runs a company and panics when Lily gets sick and tries to cook even though she is terrible at it. That is who I love. Amber started crying. Not elegant tears, but messy, gasping sobs of someone who had been holding everything together and finally let go. Ethan moved to kneel in front of her chair and pulled her into his arms. She cried against his shoulder while he held her and whispered that it was okay, that they would figure it out, that they had time. Mom, a small voice said from the bed. They both turned to see Lily awake and watching them with fever-bright eyes. You came back, Lily said to Amber. Amber wiped her face and moved to sit on the edge of the bed. Of course I did, sweetheart. Are you and Daddy friends again? We are, Ethan said. Does that mean you can be my mom now? Amber looked at Ethan. He nodded. If you want me to be, Amber said carefully. Would you like that? Yes, Lily tried to sit up and winced. I asked Dad every day when you were coming back. I made another picture, but I did not have anyone to give it to. Can I see it? Amber asked. It is at home. But it is the three of us, and we are all smiling. I would love to see it. Lily reached for Amber's hand. I'm glad you came back. I missed you. I missed you too, Amber said. So much. Ethan watched his daughter and the woman he loved holding hands, and felt something settle in his chest. This was right. This was what family was supposed to look like. 1 year later, Hayes Tower hosted an event that made the local news. The Hope for Single Parents Fund launched with a gala attended by 300 people and raised $2.7 million in a single night. Amber stood on stage in an evening gown. Beside her, Ethan wore a suit that still felt strange on his shoulders, but fit better than anything he owned before. He was the executive director of the fund. It turned out he was very good at connecting with people who needed help because he had been one of them. Lily walked up to the microphone in a dress her mother picked out. She was 8 now and only slightly nervous about public speaking. This fund helps single parents like my dad, she read from the paper in her hands. It helps them buy food and pay for school and take their kids to museums. My mom started this fund because she knows what it is like to feel alone. And my dad helps run it because he knows what it is like to need help. I am very proud of both of them. The audience applauded. Amber wiped tears from her eyes. Ethan squeezed her hand. Later, they drove home to a house that was big enough for a family, but modest enough that Lily would grow up understanding what mattered. They had compromised on a 3-bedroom house in a normal neighborhood where Lily could ride her bike and play with kids who went to public school. Lily ran inside and immediately started telling them about her day. About the speech she gave and the people who told her she was brave and the dessert table with chocolate fountain. Amber changed out of her gown and into jeans. Ethan started making dinner. Lily did her homework at the kitchen table while they worked together. Mom, Lily said from her homework, can you help me with this math problem? Sure, baby, Amber said, walking over. Ethan watched them from the stove, his daughter and his wife, the family he never expected to have, the life that started with a lie and became the only truth that mattered. We are lucky, he said. Amber looked up from the math problem and smiled. We are. That night, after Lily went to bed, Ethan and Amber sat on their back porch under stars that were dimmed by city lights, but visible enough. Amber leaned against him and felt the steady rhythm of his breathing. Do you ever regret it? Ethan asked. The lying, the experiment, all of it. Every day, Amber said honestly. But I also would not change it, because it brought me to you. You could have just told me the truth from the beginning. Would you have believed me? If I walked into that cafe and said I was a CEO worth $200 million looking for someone who would love me anyway? Ethan thought about it. Probably not. So maybe some lies are necessary to get to the truth, Amber said. Maybe sometimes you have to pretend to be poor to find out what really makes you rich. Ethan kissed the top of her head. What makes you rich? Amber looked back through the window at their house, at the light in Lily's room, where their daughter was probably still awake, reading about space. At the life they built from ruins and honesty and second chances. This, she said, a family that money cannot buy,